feelings, emotions, thoughts, and fears, compiled, abandoned, and lost. I wait in perpetual anxiety as I watch the corner of my screen change. It's the new year. Am I supposed to feel something? Happiness? Sadness? I don't feel anything. Just a constant void of emptiness that surrounds me. It's hard to relate to someone when you've forgotten how to relate. The feelings and emotions once known have all but vanished. Am I a good person? What is good? How can I be considered human if I feel so alien? Maybe I should check Steam and play something, but I'm not sure about it. Would I really enjoy playing something right now?
Why not? What's happening right now?
I don't know. I just feel like I could be doing something else.
What?
I don't know. I feel tired.
You want to sleep?
No. During the late hours of the night on a cool summer evening, I sat on the Steam homepage, bored as shit. I'd seen a review for a free game a few months back. The YouTuber spoke highly of it, so I put it on the back burner for a while. Sure, the reviews were surprisingly astounding, but I wasn't sure about playing one of those games. I felt as if I hadn't stooped that low yet. I mean, sure, I liked watching anime every once in a while, but I mean, this is different. Or so I told myself for a few months up until that night. Either way, I delved headfirst into it, and about 30 hours later, with many fits of anger, happiness, anxiety, and depression during my playtime, I finished the game. I soon moved on to looking for more content that had anything to do with it. After the somewhat short DLC, I heard about another game that apparently takes place after the events of the original. During the story of EverlastingSummer, there are many paths you, the player, can take, one of which is having all the romanceable girls from the game visit you in your own world. This is also known as the harem ending. This follow-up takes place roughly a year after the concluding events of the original, during a New Year celebratory gathering. All of the characters in this game are supposed friends, but there is a clear distance between them. With each route, it seems the distance fades and each character is fleshed out more, and you begin to see the people you grew to know in the original appear. As expected, most of the initial cast from the last game are here, even Shurik and Electronic, much to my surprise. Lena is still shy, Ilyana still acts like a child for the most part, Alyssa is still quite the dissonder. Miko is a bit odd. Her name in the original was Miko, but in her main game route, she's called Masha because her personality is completely different. Here you would assume she would be called Miko, right? No, her name is Masha. Why? The answer is not known to me. She even corrects you, for whatever reason, and Slaviana is still the beautiful blonde I fell for in ES. But the developers cannot be forgiven for not including a scene with Slaviana in the game. Literally everyone else gets one except her. But regardless, there are a few routes you can take. I just wish there was more content like a Simeon ending, or alternative endings to the routes in general. Because in this timeline, Simeon is just a fucking loser again, and in a lot of the ES endings, not all of them, but a lot, he learns something from being in the camp, and finds a way to improve his life in some way. Here he just kind of reverts back to his old self, but this time instead of being entirely alone, he's with a bunch of girls that have hardcore friend-zoned him. He also still remembers every route with every girl, even Lena. Yeah, he actually remembers spending his whole life in a different timeline. That has to be pretty detrimental to someone's mental stability. I would personally like an ending where he completely breaks down and turns into Evil Sim, but to be honest, some more content overall would have been nice. There are a few scenes that take place in the game, some even managing to tug at the heartstrings a few times. And this was the final scene in my first playthrough of the game. Some may view it as a simple JPEG, but for me it was much more than that. What I saw was someone who had forgotten how to genuinely feel, with his head tilted up slightly, almost restraining himself from seeing the spectacle before him. He is alien to these rare occurrences of emotion, beautiful lights all around him, a warm hand holding his, and the joy of a new year. He's probably never felt anything like this in his entire life, let alone the last few years of constant isolation. Leon is so uncomprehending of his lack of emotion, always teasing and nagging him about it. But seeing this as someone who's been there, I can deeply relate to his shortcomings. Perhaps I am reading into things that were never the true intent of the developers. But perhaps not. Either way, this is one of the few games these days that I can play and immediately feel comforted. They're much better than they could have been. Good job, developers. By the way the characters looked in the harem ending, I only imagined the worst. But again, good job. These designs are great. They took what was good about the old and blended them more into Simeon's world, which turned out fairly well, in my opinion. Though it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The English translations aren't the best, and there are many grammatical errors throughout the span of the game. I even had to manually go into the settings to turn on the English option when I opened the game for the first time, which was hard enough since I had no idea what any of the options meant, because they were in an entirely different language. The backgrounds are crisp and give off the New Year's vibes that your character is feeling. There's not much else more to say than that. They're good. I'd say the best time to play this is around New Year's, with a cozy blanket and some hot cocoa. Sadly, there isn't much to come back to. This is more of a short DLC, if anything. It's more of what I like, and if a player doesn't resonate with that, I can't see them coming back to this one. But for UES fans, this is a nice treat. 'Tis the season to be. Yo, I know I've been gone a while. Actually, a long while. There was some life-changing stuff I was going through, along with other fairly time-consuming things as well. But the idea of this video never left me, and I'm just glad that I could get it out before New Year's. Stay safe, everyone, and Merry Christmas.